Hi, what is up? This is Pancake Marathon, where I give what I have to give. And simply to say, I have done so many 360s in my life that I'm ready to just do that 180, and if I need, because I get to, do a 360 again. Absolute. And yet, simply to say today, I feel very serene, and yet enthusiastic. And at the same time, I think it comes to the simple fact of letting go and letting God, forgiveness. For I admitted those points in my life to where I was angry, it hurt, and that's the thing about recovery, or just in general of acknowledging things, right? And it really comes down to this simple fact of, in the whole story of the three little pigs. Okay, there's the big bad wolf. Okay, and how I interpret that in its simplest aspect of itself, that I and we all are, right? And from that, just that story, you know, and and the parable that we can take from it, in a sense of saying, of of understanding the quote of our life into that of becoming a leader, right? A trusted servant, which is the same as saying a teacher, which is the ultimate student, essentially. And yet, simply to say, how quick do we love to shoot that messenger and not focus on the message? Such as, essentially, all that messenger wants to do is give you a message. That's all, their whole entire purpose of absolutes of what they actually do in life, you know? And uh, I know I have, without a doubt, gone out of my way to judge that very, very, very thing unworthy. And I'm like, oh, well, you're going to keep bugging me? I can cleverly say whatever I want to say, but it's me that finds it incapable of an internal peace to where I'm projecting everything and blowing it up. And so instead, and then I'm going to use that hostage at that point. I've arrested it, but I became the prisoner in that sense. I become the warden, and I become the one that says, "Oh, I guess it's time to eat." You know, and so, man, that's why I comprehend the word serenity. It doesn't mean I'm there. It doesn't mean I'm not there, right? It's like the same thing of saying, "Show for that miracle." Did you fill in the blank of I'm perfect, so I get to, or somehow I'm not okay with myself, so I am miserable, but I want company, and yet I'm going to blow up the world. That's my intention, right? There's that malice in there. There's that absolute of I am just angry, and everyone's going to know, because I am someone that doesn't just I wear your heart on your sleeve. No, oh what? It's more like I dressed up, and that's my clothing is my heart, right? And I've been told that I'm passive aggressive. Oh, so in the realization of the spiritual awakening, in a sense of saying that I put the work in because of the in or now I'm just trying to explain the spiritual awakening essentially, but you know, it came because I, you know, found that I needed to admit, and it's true. It doesn't stand less true in that sense, and yet in going off this passive aggressive thing, right? Because if you look it up, it's like you're still going through it and you're angry, but you're talking, right? But every action that you do is just gearing towards I'm angry, and if you're going to talk to me, I'm going to make sure you know it because I'm miserable, and if you want to be my company, you're going to know about it, right? And in a sense of itself, of this whole passive aggressive thing, in this whole spiritual awakening that I had, this realization, this moment of clarity, this knowledge I now get to keep, simply to say, is that of, so you know that I'm angry, and you're not going to do anything about it, or in the simple way of saying that you have yet to find a way to make sure that it's not going to happen again, or in the simple where I'm really going with this is, it's not that we're trying to invalidate your feelings. It's just that we can't do something about that right at this moment. So can we all just get past it? Right? And so then I'm like, oh, okay. And so I acknowledge these things, right? And if I want someone else to do that for me, I have to realize that these real lies that I'm attempting to realize are the real lies. That without this realization, I will not realize the lies, and I will have on some aspect of what I find to be my real eyes, to see and to have the sight. And yet, and yet, that's before I admit, right? Or maybe it's in the whole process of, who knows, the evolutional aspect of, the whatever it may be, the chart, the flow chart, or whatever. I'm just, ooh, you know? And so every time I attempt to show up for that miracle, or just keep that in mind, right? Because there's a point to where this whole ego thing, the self-seeking basic aspect of itself, you know, is just a tool that I can get angry at. And it's quoted to me in our to the illustration, the metaphor of the ego is just there to keep you small. Where it's like, the way I see it is that it is okay. It's not that it's not that, right? It's not that it's more than that or less than that. It's just the ego, right? It really, really, truly is. And then yet, let me go ahead and practice these principles in all my affairs. Let me go ahead and use anonymity, right? Let me go ahead and see about the root cause of why I'm feeling this way, right? Why is this tool, this ego that has value, that is essentially one of the beautiful aspects of the human condition, the causation, this condition of myself wanting to be here regardless of how physicality, or in a sense of saying, what is it, materialist, because that's the same thing, to that of having this experience of, and then keeping in my foresight of just everything, of just like, okay, let me go ahead and, like, this is the overarching archetype of what I really want to play out in the theme of my life, and how I want to be this character of who I want to be today. This is my motivation. I am this character in this play. I am the director, actor, and everything like that. Yes, I am the main character in my entire everything, because I'm the one that is experiencing it. And if we're all connected in the same sense of itself, then we're all doing the same thing, and we're all in the similarities of the unity, a factor of just this human experience, in the sense of saying, stop condemning things. And then, it's like, rawr, for real, for real. And yet, oh my goodness, woo! And so I go and I do these things because I want to. Somehow I have complicated it so much that it's not that I'm not happy, it's that I'm making myself unhappy. Right? It's not that it's not frustrating. It's not that it's not inconvenient. And it's not that it's just something that that's the power of acceptance, which is really forgiveness, which is really the pathway into gratitude. And in that sense of itself, the absolute of just being at peace, solace, right? Some clarity in it is as what it may be, right? That's like a fancy spiritual way of saying it is what it is. And yet, in the same sense, I find the value and the interpretation such as it is what it is into another way of saying, into, per se, an emotional aspect of therapy of itself, and saying, I'm going to accept that abuse, right? And it's like, oh, it's like the same thing of saying, I agree to disagree. Let's agree to disagree. It's like, I don't like that saying. There's the simple way of saying those two sayings are, there's two slogans are just like, what? I don't, what? Okay. You're showing that you're a keeper, so keep on going, because you belong with the crayon section, because that's what God made for you. Because, let's go ahead As for yourself and even myself, right? I'm not like saying that's not me at moments, right? There's points where it's like I'm being too much and I don't know how not to be because I'm going through this internal battle of this war of my mind, and this the battlefield is my body, and I just have to step back because it's not that it doesn't suck, and it's not that it's not effed up because O to the G to the what, WTH, WTH, what are the facts, right? Oh, we can go ahead and be all fancy with how we can cuss and how we can demean ourselves because we're just trying to be likable, or that of maybe in a simple way of saying, it's like when somebody flips you off, right? It's like our play fighting aspect of itself. When like those that, like any animal, basically, whatever, we can just go ahead and say lions, whatever, cubs in that sense, and how they play fight, right? And this play fighting aspect is the same thing as you putting your spiritual armor on in recovery terms, right? And so they're play fighting so they can practice for the absolutes of them, of their training, to where they, if they need be and need to defend themselves, they already have the muscle memory within itself and the experience level of bringing that strength, which is the now moment in recovery, essentially, but strength is how we communicate that, to that of the hope, which is essentially the future, because there are some that I've heard recently, basically, and this is why I'm saying it, of quoting that, religion, are you kidding me? What? No, there's no hope. That doesn't really exist. That's just a whatever word. And yeah, they're angry or whatever, passionate or whatever it may be, and it's just that snippet, that fractal, right? That fragment of what they are giving in that moment, because it's a 30-second video. Are we serious? Are we gonna go ahead and condemn them for their entire aspect of how they're expressing themselves? Because it is so easy to condemn somebody for the way that they think, to God shame them, because somehow it doesn't fit into our box of what we've already accepted. And in a simple way of saying, I have not yet worked on that part, and I don't want to, or I have not yet don't have the energy, in the sense of saying, because I'm working on these other things, and that's just a lot. I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to overthink. I'm going to future trip myself into anxiety, or that of the simplistic aspect of that same concept of I'm going to pass myself into depression. But there's something that I need to accept. There's some value there, right? And it's like the same thing of those two sayings of let's agree to disagree, and let's go ahead, and it is what it is, and it's like, what is going on? And yet simply to say, the value that I get from those things and how I zenned it, how I redefined that aspect in itself, because it's, science has such the poetic way of saying energy's everything, and energy cannot be destroyed, it can just change form. And in that sense, right there, we can go ahead and study the philosophized aspects of itself, the meaning, the purpose of what we want to bring into it, and who we are, to the simple fact of the matter of it is that we don't have to accept that lesson, or in another way of saying, because it's always about empowerment. And that's one reason why I hold back in the yay, let's celebrate those two things, and that's the absolutes of everything, and thank God I have that, basically, right? To the simple fact of saying that I appreciate the value of the lesson that I'm going to learn, and then base that around all these compilations of the composition of myself and my experiences, and the melody and the harmony, and even in and of itself, to where I am crescendo to such a fact of the matter that I am balking and I'm being belligerent, to the fact of I'm being so cheeky, that I am being so loud and annoying, an absolute Karen in of itself, in the simple way of saying, to sum it up, to that of what is, to that's not me. What am I? Who am I? Do I want to be this angry, absolute, downtrodden everything, to where nothing really matters and I'm just burning down everything, and then, I'm not isolating because I'm being passive aggressive, because you already know, right? to the simple fact of acceptance, to the simple fact of forgiveness, to the simple fact of just being validated, valued. Yeah, are you going to do the same? Are you going to condemn in your aspects of how you justify, even though it's unjustified in every aspect of itself, because all you are doing is asking for help, but the help that you are getting, because you asked for it, you prayed, and the meditation is the answer, right? And so you asked, prayer, you asked, and the answer is, here's the help. Now, does it come down to, oh, okay, so, you knowledge, right? Simply to say, or you're acting within that of, you're the center of the world, because there's points that you are the center of your world. We're sharing the same space and time, but we're in our own dimension, our own understanding, our own things that we are bringing to the table. But because we feel so angry, all we want to do is destroy the outside world, instead of realizing that we need to look within and change that. Nothing in the outside matters. Nothing in the outside matters in the sense of saying it's all about what you think. It's internal, this instinct, the nature of. Stop attempting to go out and call everybody stupid because you're not happy. Because somehow you find this outward vision of yourself in this character, in its simple fact of itself, not happy. What? That's cool, but when are we going to move past it? I know there's points where I get stuck in that thinking, right? To where, oh, I'm hurt, and no one cares. Why aren't they just doing what I want? And it's like, you're wrong. You're. Why are you so stupid? And yet, simply to say that's just my inadequacies of saying I'm hurt and I'm not okay, and then I'm going to project this on you and personify this emotion, which I'm condemning it from its original aspect of itself, of just being what it is, and then somehow I'm going to hold on to that and make that my friendly fire because, oh, you're in the way. You woke up that beast, and it's like, you could have just let me rest. And oh no, it's like, are you serious? Are you serious? To myself, I'm saying, right? Those points. 2, forgiveness. It's an absolute miracle if I want it to be. Because maybe that's who I really am. Is unconditional love. Is love. Right? And I am so good at making sure everybody makes a shank for themselves because it was their idea, right? I'm playing out being a narcissist because somehow I'm not okay. And I'm not a narcissist. I am really top of the line, and simply to say, but sometimes the top of the pyramid, I'm just doing a handstand, and really I just never got back up when I fell. And so this top of the pyramid that I'm looking at is really just a side. It's the thing that's holding up everything else, right? It's the foundation. And I'm like, I am questioning my foundation right now, but I don't realize it. And I'm just like, oh, my perception says everything. I'm just perceiving at this point because perception is really in nature. It's internal. It's instinct. It's an absolute of what is a manifestation of magnanimous natures of itself. And yet, because I'm so in the ego, I'm so self-seeking, I'm so willing to tear down everything because something's not right. Something is not right. And you know what it is? It's me. It is me. If I'm supposed to be this what is it? Oh, another version of the creating starting point of everything, because we're going off the poetic aspect of what science has to word it within of itself, to simply say that energy is everything and energy cannot destroy itself. It can just change form. Or I know it doesn't. I just energy is everything, and energy cannot be destroyed. It can just change form, right? But that was the psychological outburst of the subconscious, the psychological outburst, or whatever it may be. The conscious outburst, in the sense of addressing in the simplistic aspects of the subconscious, acknowledging what I'm going through, and then me consciously talking out loud to the simple fact of this harmony and this disharmony, this chaos this discord within itself of saying that I am energy, right? And I am good at destroying myself, but I can't. I can't destroy myself. So I'm not good at that, right? I'm only good at being what I am, which is whatever it may be, love, hate, but I'm not those emotions, right? Not saying love's an emotion, right? It's almost it's joy, it's a gratitude, absolute. It's an absolute manifestation of magnanimous natures of this human experience and beyond. Actually, it's a foundation of this human experience of why we're experiencing this, right? It's a starting point, and maybe it's the end point from this simple fact of itself of saying that in a beginning is really an end, and in the end is really a beginning. Because in the end is the destruction, but it's also that in of itself of a beginning. And then in the beginning, it's really the destruction of, right? And it's not where you start, it's where you finish. It's how you finish. In each moment. Each moment. And so, all of these things are showcasing the same thing. Maybe in a simple way of saying society's backwards, right? But it's not. It's not. It's just this is so ego driven, and we're all focused through our ego, the self-seeking aspects of itself, that we somehow miss the point and we shoot the messenger, and then we're holding on to all this anger because somehow something's not right in the outside world, and that's just really a reflection of ourselves, right? It's true. Oh my goodness, it is super, super true. Just saying, right? And yet simply to say forgiveness is everything. The ego, oh my goodness, I value it. I do. There's funny points where it's like, oh, I'm so glad that I'm on autopilot, that I don't have to really think about anything. I just have to pay for the consequences of how my ego wants to portray itself as the absolute in life when it's not. Right? It's absolute here. It can be. It's a personality. What is happening right now? I don't know. And that's why I love recovery, because it helps. It helps me reparent myself. Because there's a point where it's like, after legally 18, you gotta stop. You. It's not that you got to. It's that you can't. You cannot blame somebody else for somehow them doing their best and trying in life, right? Because try is an ego thing, right? And ego is like society, right? It's a fallacy. It doesn't, it's all thoughts, more or less, because that's where it happens, right? Internal, the mind, in of itself. And yet, once we realize that we are not these things, that ultimately we are the observer of these thoughts, and we can over-observe, obsess, and become worry, right? But we are not these things. No way, shape, or form of someone's, even myself, someone's, even yourself, someone's, even that, however it may be, someone's, because we're all somebody, someone's lack, or what is seemingly lacking, of communication. It was perfect when it got done. Why is it happening that way? Because it is life. And what is life? You are. And so simply to say, how do I work on myself? How do I become better? Well, I don't condemn myself from the past. It's like the whole aspect of sorry. It's like, what? You know what I equate that to? The parallel aspects of itself. Sorry. It is what it is. And let's agree to disagree. Like, I absolutely, it's like, what is happening right now? What? But then it's my thoughts. It's my experiences. It's what I'm trying to bring to the table, but then I'm putting too much on my plate and not just trying to keep it super simple. Right? And then I'm becoming stupid. Right? I would imagine so. What do I know? It's almost like, that's like a funny way of saying I'm trying to be humble, but boasting about it per se, but at the same time just acknowledging that I am just the same as you. You don't know anything, right? Oh, so, but then that's like an ego aspect of itself. Where at the same time, it's like saying, well, I have these tools, right? but I'm a leader. So let me show you how these tools can work, right? These are suggestions of how you can go ahead and break the tool if you want. Yeah, it's yes. Simply to say, if you use a tool in the wrong way, you're gonna break it faster, right? In another way of saying, when you don't use the tool in the wrong way, it's all about maintenance and that of the wear and tear. But that's maintenance, right? You know, same thing. So let me leave you with this. Simply to say, there was a boy, right? And this baby, let's keep it with anonymity, right? So we can find some unity in this. So there was this baby, okay, really young, and they go up to their parent and they say, "I'm angry. I am so angry. I don't know what anger is, but I am angry, and it hurts, and I am sad, and all I want to do is destroy." And the parent says, "Okay, that's okay. I love you. So this is what we're gonna do, right? Because we're in this together. So this is what we're gonna do. Here's a hammer, okay, and here are some nails. And you see the back fence in there. You see the going into the backyard, okay. Um, and every time you get angry, go to the back fence, okay, and just nail that nail in there, okay. Now there comes to a point where that baby says, parent, I love you too, and I'm not as angry anymore, right? And so they say, okay, that's cool. So they say to the baby, the parent, they say, um, every nail that you put in there, okay, go ahead and take it out. And so then they do. The baby takes all the nails out, right? And then they say, hey parent, I took all the nails out that I can, right? And they say, oh, okay, well, I love you, let's do this together. And they say, well, let's go outside. You go first though, okay? If you want. And the baby says, I don't know. Can you show me the way? And the baby says, or the parent says, okay. But really that was the parent that was saying this to the baby, right? And so then they go, because the baby just rushes out there, right? They're like, yeah, right? They're excited, right? And so the baby says, oh, so look at this, it's all here, and all these here are all the nails, right? And the parent says, okay, um, you know, the parent brings out a repair kit, right? Basically, okay, or just basically a piece of paper, because there's points, and so they put that paper up there, right? And they say, okay, you see all these holes, right? And 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 then the baby says, oh, I couldn't get this one out. It's really in there. I couldn't get it out. And so the parent says, okay, that's okay. I love you. It doesn't this is just an object. You matter, right? And so then the parent says, basically, let's sit down, right? And the parent then says, so do you see all these things, all the holes? And then the baby gets up and says, I remember that one though, right? Still kind of angry about that, but I'm not as angry. And then the parent says, that's cool, that's cool. So what you have done is, in its simplest aspect of, is you forgave, you acknowledged, and you've seen the value of. And now you're trying. And so then the baby says, oh, I guess I have. And so then the teacher, the parent, says, Okay, so you see all the holes are there, and the student says, "Oh, yes, yes." And then the teacher says, "Well, those holes are there forever. They will never not be there, no matter how much we repair them." Because you see this piece of paper, and they put it up, and then they take one of the nails and they punch a hole in the paper, right? And they say, "Oh, see the hole's still there, no matter how much you repair it, right? That hurt is still there." And the student says, "Oh, wow." And yet, then they move the paper down a little bit, and they say, "Oh, it's a scar. It's healed on the outside, but on the inside, it's still there, right?" And so essentially, all the hurt, the anger, is still there. That Finn still remembers it, but because you come back and try to love it and heal it and acknowledge the value of itself, it's stronger because of you. Because you forgave. And it's not that it's stronger, you're stronger. You're not holding on to that hurt. You let it go. Right? And so it's okay. I love you. But let me ask you this. Are you glad in the sense of itself to do this to this fence instead of the ones that you're mad at? The student says, "I don't know. I think so." "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah," says the baby. And the teacher says, "Because I love you. This is why I'm here, to guide you and to suggest things, because I am your parent. I'm not going to be able to do this for you, and it's time that you've seen this. When you're ready, and maybe you are." And yet simply to say, that's what I have. I know I've said that story before. I have. But I come to a deeper realization, because I keep showing up for that miracle, and I forgave. I cleared, all the wreckage, right? I made room, and I realized, simply to say, that I never realized the scar part, right? Anywho, though, I do love you. I do. Because I love myself, and you're part of me, right? Maybe. I don't know. There are some points I'm like, is that really me? Am I really that thing? But that's the ego talking, per se. I'm just making it funny, actually. Just simply say, though, you do deserve to take up space. Your shoes do fit just right. And you know what? Thank you for being a part of my recovery. And thank you, God, my understanding, for being part of my recovery as well. Because, thank you. Have a great day. And in a simple way of saying, this has been Pancake Marathon, where I take my 160s or whatever, my 360s, and turn them from that into a 180, and then maybe go back and do 360s if I have put too much on my table and added too much. And yet somebody say, that's okay, because it is. Love you.